Heavenly Father, Mother God, whose presence is heaven, we're learning more and more that heaven is here and now, only remaining unseen because of our unhealed minds and souls. So we call upon the Holy Spirit of God, the Holy Shekinah. We call upon the Divine Mother. Help us to continue healing our minds and souls of all that keeps us conflicted with ourselves and with each other. Help us to heal our belief systems from all forms of limitation. Teach us to rise into your consciousness and to bring that consciousness to our day-to-day lives. Then we can accurately proclaim heaven is here now as we lift the veils and see it. And in advance, we give thanks that this is so. In advance, we give thanks and celebration. It is okay for us to smile and celebrate that despite what the world tells us is true, there is but the will of God, the truth of God. There is but love, peace, joy, oneness, abundance. And when we don't see it, it's our unhealed wounds infiltrating our view again. So guide us on how to manifest your presence on earth just as it is in heaven. And so it is.
And please join me in reading our mission statement, which you will find on the white cards in the seat backs in front of you. And together we say, the Global Center for Christ Consciousness is a spiritual center for students and masters on the spiritual path. We are dedicated to awakening the inner Christ and to creating a world of love, peace, joy, and abundance. And now for our sacred reading for today.
From Course in Miracles. Grace is the natural state of every son of God. When we are not in a state of grace, we are out of our natural environment and do not function well. Everything we do becomes a strain because we were not created in the environment we have made. We therefore cannot adapt to it, nor can we adapt it to us. As children of God, we are only truly happy when we know we are with God. That is the only environment in which we will not experience strain, because that is where we belong. It is the only environment that is worthy of us, because our own worth is beyond anything the mind has made or can ever make, and so it is. So it is.
Thank you for being with us today. What topics would you like us to cover today? What's on your heart? What's in your mind? What feels important and or, for your personal life or globally for that matter? Harmony. Pardon, one more?
Releasing oneself.
Okay, hold on.
Condemnation.
Hold on.
Hold on.
Jeez. Patience. Let's start over. Harmony I got. None of the others. So what else was it? Stop. Good. That's one more. Condemnation. Okay, hold on. Red light, green light. Okay. Okay. Okay.
Losing oneself.
Struggle.
Okay, hold on. Never mind. Okay, no more. So, yeah, just, chill. I understand it's exciting, to put it out there, but just, wait for somebody else's to get heard. And then, So a lot of things from relationships, condemnation, losing oneself, struggle, harmony, embracing change. There's lots of topics as always, and there should be. I like that. One of the primary challenges in this world is, and it's very interesting, we live in a dualistic world. Whether you believe it or not, it's a dualistic world. That's partly why some philosophies, teachings, metaphysics talk about in the beginning there's one, and then becomes two, and then becomes everything else. And sometimes it's two becomes three, three becomes seven, seven becomes zero. There's different wording for different groups, but all of what we know to be created, remember we talked about this last week, everything that was ever made was made by the Word. Remember that? So the whole universe is created from the consciousness of God's children. So it's kind of like God creates and has created this perfect universe, meaning one song, universe. This perfect spiritual universe, the song of God. And it's just harmony and bliss. God created its children to be in that place, not to live in that place, because then it implies that we're walking around thinking, talking. It's to be in that bliss. Perfect. So far, so good. And then like God created us, created this bliss state of consciousness, God creates us, and then we, like God, say, well, like God, we too will create. So when we're thinking loving thoughts, because that's what God is love. So when we think from a place of love, we add to creation. So God's children are co-creators when they're adding more love to love. And so expansiveness is happening. Consciousness that is expansive and beautiful and loving. More joy, more hope, more oneness, all this great, great, great stuff. When the children of God said, but what if we screwed up? What if we made a mistake? What if we were separate from God? And then in that moment is manufactured an alternate reality. But it's lowercase r because it's not real at all. But an alternate reality is created. Now, there's all kinds of schools and systems and books and groups that intellectualize it, and they have new names for it. And then they say, no, but after that, and then 50 billion dimensions were created. And then this happened, and they have all this fancy stuff, and you don't know which one to believe. But it's okay because they're all giving a perspective and various names to the same thing, which is the illusion. So one person says, and then we grow and we evolve and we eventually become one with, true. Another says, none of this is even happening, true. They're all true. One of them says, but there's 18 realms, true, because they're looking at 18. Somebody else says, no, I thought there were 12, true, because you're looking at 12. In other words, there's no end to the insanity. You can pretty much make up anything you want. Are there UFOs? Yes. Are UFOs a figment of our imagination? Yes. Why is that true? Because nothing you can see can you see without it being in your mind. So it is also part of your mind. But that doesn't mean you're hallucinating. But you are. Because it's coming from your mind. So I don't know what to believe. Exactly. But that's upsetting. True. Now I need medication. You can borrow some of mine. It's I'm not trying to complicate. I'm saying it's all okay. And even though it's laughable and it's an illusion, it's our reality. So for now, lots to do. Jesus takes a role and says, I will go in and play this role to create greater comfort to mankind. I'll go in there and teach forgiveness so that things can heal and be, decompressed and so on. But why if it's not real? And that's to me interesting because it means there are some of us that know this is not real and yet patient enough to come here and try to help. Isn't that amazing? Yeah. Instead of going, get over it. It's an illusion. But I know that you're hurting, so let me help. I think that's beautiful. That's the mindset of any good nurse, any good mother, counselor, anybody that ever is in a role of helping people. That's the right mindset. To know the truth but respect the illusion. To know in the back of your mind, this is not the reality of God. And yet, to hand someone a tissue when they seem to be upset. Be there with them. And it's interesting because as soon as I'm there with you, even though this is not the real world, I'm not going to overly emphasize that, so try not to get too anxious about it. But even though this isn't the real world, when I hand you a tissue, I'm actually inviting you back to the real world because I just showed care for somebody. And it doesn't matter if the care was because their issues were real or not. Who cares once we're home? So when I hand you a tissue and you say thank you and I'm here for you, the love is infinite. The love is absolutely, immeasurable, and it's eternal. So the love is there. And on some level, you're going to get that, even though it's just a tissue. I pay your $5 in the grocery line because you're short $5. Why? Why not? Don't you deserve it? And they're in Safeway, go, what? Because you deserve it. And they might think, oh, do I know you? Oh, you must know that, I'm, and they start intellectualizing, making up reasons why they deserve it. And, you don't have to explain. Just smile. Of course you do. Because what you're sending is a frequency, a vibration, a tone into their soul. The way a singer, and it shatters glass. Except you're sending it into their soul. Don't sing it in Safeway's line. But in Safeway's line, you're like, you're sending this frequency into their soul that's going, my undeservability. Now, one in every so many of them are going to go, oh my God, this is an amazing, and then they're going to go, what are you up to? People don't do this just to be nice. You're going to get that sometimes. You want something, don't you? And I don't know you, and how dare you? 'Cause they're going to put stuff on you, but you have an option. When you do kindness and people can get weird on it, you have an option. You can either play it safe and never do kindness, then they'll never question you. And that's a valid option because it doesn't feel good to have them flip on you. But the other option is just to keep asking for guidance and do good. Do good thoughts, good words, good deeds. That's in Zoroastrianism, in Buddhism, in mystic Christianity, good thoughts, good words, good deeds. And it's not to isolate and intellectualize, well, what exactly are good thoughts? Did we leave one out? Good something else. Thoughts, words, deeds, it meant to cover basically an umbrella over everything. Goodness, period. Be kind. Be a bridge. Be the presence of the Holy Spirit. Be the presence of the Divine Mother. Be there. Be kind. Listen when someone's speaking an ache from their soul. Care enough to listen and help in any way that seems appropriate for that moment and that person. It's not going to look the same between any two people. But how can I be helpful here today? How can I be, the presence of God? And one of your things that you requested, like losing oneself, that gets very tricky because when you try to help somebody, and let's say you see somebody in the grocery line and you $5 their groceries. Okay, great. And then you see them also somewhere else and somewhere else and somewhere else, and you're giving it to the same person over and over. Losing oneself, I'm not saying that's right or wrong. What I'm saying is losing oneself is where you're not even checking in to see, is this the right thing to do? Now, somebody will say, it's always the right thing. Oh, no, it isn't. As soon as I handed you my rent money, and now I tell my landlord I would love to pay rent, but I gave it to somebody who was in need. And my guides told me it is right for him to kick you out of his house because you think you justified some other person needed that money. It's not yours. It's your landlord's. You owe it. So losing oneself is where you're not being responsible. You're not checking in. You assumed. Listen, it's not in your contract, your rental agreement. That says, unless, rent due by the 1st, unless your guides say otherwise. Even in Sedona, I've never seen a contract that says that. So losing oneself means you put yourself in danger of some form. I don't mean always mortal danger. I just mean, you went beyond what you can emotionally handle. I had clients today. I saw 6 clients most of the time. Today I did 10. And you're like this when you went home. You went too far. Is that simple enough? How do you know? Look at yourself. When you can't butter bread because the knife keeps chopping off fingers, something's wrong. I couldn't sleep last night. You went too far. Is that bad, by the way? No, I think it's amazing, good intentions. If you were doing it to help them. If you're doing it because I just need the extra money, be careful. Now you're bargaining your sanity for the extra few dollars. I would find a way to do that more in a balanced way. So losing oneself, in a sense, you can say it's when you've gone beyond your boundaries, your energetic, your financial, your psychological boundaries, your whatever other boundaries, verbal, whatever it happens to be. So we're here to make a difference. And what we're tempted to do is there's the me that doesn't know how or care about making a difference. Then there's the me that wants to make a difference and is working on it. And then there's the ultimate, one with God to know exactly what to say, how to say it, when, the whole bit. But we're not there yet. So respect the illusion and be the bridge between these two. The bridge is always the presence of the Mother, the Divine Mother, the Holy Spirit of God. What would you have me do today? And you don't usually go from completely broken to completely holy. We usually have to shift from the one to the other. Learning to navigate that guidance, I guess you could say. So to really understand, and we have a workshop this afternoon on very important principles of consciousness, reality and illusion. We're going to do a workshop on that this afternoon if you want to join us. But one of the things I'm going to talk about more there, but I'll mention just here, is this world of duality, and we're told, yeah, even if it is a world of duality, that's normal. It's just to be accepted, expected. Reality, Democrats, Republicans, males, females, black, white, up, down, left, right, everything seems to be acceptable duality. But in God, at the top of duality line, up here in the dot of God, there's no duality. Well, that seems impractical. I hear spiritual teachers telling people, and somebody thinks they're wise. Somebody actually thinks these people are worth paying. But anyway, they'll tell you, you can't have good without evil. You can't know love without knowing fear and hate. Now, and to some of you are like, oh, that makes total sense. No, it doesn't actually. What it does is it excludes the possibility of ever having goodness. You might have a good day and now you're subconsciously programmed to go, I guess tomorrow's going to be a bad one. I better strap in, get ready. That's not God. So duality looks like this. It's a false sense of a beginning. There's the beginning of God, which is here, which is true. We went through a veil and recreated ourselves and said, let's start over. We've fallen from heaven, from grace. We've dropped ourselves down here, let's say. This new self creates a world of duality because going through the veil refracts that which was one. So we go through a veil, meaning the illusion of separating from God, and we land here, but we can't land here as one. Because how could you leave God and still be one when God is the only thing that's one? Anything else is an imagined thing. So we go, well, if God's one, let's do two. So we go through a veil, we land here, and we split between this and that. And human beings don't know how to be at peace because there's always something else. I have a good life. I have a wonderful partnership, but they died. So Buddha says, the roots to all your problems is this, that no matter how good your life gets, someone's going to leave or die. That's the promising aspect of a relationship. No matter, and think about what this world, in its sales pitch. Come visit planet Earth, where instead of oneness, you have conflict with everything else. Instead of eternal love, no, somebody's going to die or leave you. Who in their right mind wants to follow this sales pitch? I mean, who? It doesn't make any sense. It's just like, welcome to hell. Nothing lasts that's good, lasts forever. We're waiting for the other shoe to drop. Feeling healthy, but... And then reasons unknown to you, loved ones die on you. Tragedy is happening, and we get so upset. No, this is expected here, man. Let's own responsibility here and go, this is the world we've miscreated. But under it, behind it all, the presence of God. So Buddha also is saying, heaven is all around, but you have to lift the veil to see it. Okay, how do I lift the veil? Oh, perpetual meditation. Meditate 24/7. No, not really. That helps. But strangely and beautifully, it's forgiveness. The only reason there's a veil is because I thought I separated from God and judged myself for it. That original judgment refracted into, almost like in fractals, it refracted into every other kind of issue I ever had. It doesn't matter what it is. What you look like needs forgiveness. Your success level needs forgiveness. In God, none of these variables exist. There's no kind of prosperous, very prosperous, less prosperous. None of that exists. Perfection, wholeness. So we come to this world and this pendulum swings. You know, you have this and you have that, health and non-health, you know, and then good and evil. But no. So when these teachers are saying you can't have one without the other, watch how I can help reconcile that limited teaching that spiritual teachers often spout. And that is, they're saying you have to have. It's like yin and yang. No, it isn't. But yin and yang, male and female, good and evil, all these things, they're our version of. Listen to that carefully. It's not that they're talking about good, God, and evil. They're talking about God, which they tend to forget, and come down here and call it good days and bad days, good and evil. It's our perception of good and evil. So when someone says, well, can God have an opposite? Because I understand there's good and evil. No, you're not talking about God. You're talking about our version of good and evil. God and the devil. It isn't God. God doesn't have an adversary. There isn't something that, like, if it pumps a few more weights, it might outlift God. You know, it's not like, I don't know, evil's starting to win. All you have is these weird little people. Seemingly good, fighting seemingly evil. And it's none of it's true. There's no war of good and evil, meaning like good guys, bad guys. There's no such thing. Well, no, there was that one war we fought that it's never completely anything. There's always money involved. There's always power involved. It's never like just pure intention. Even when it seems like it's pure intention. And Krishna talks about, go to battle in life, go to battle. But he's saying, don't think that when we say go to battle, be the good guys against the bad guys. He's saying you're not going to really know always where you're really at on these things. But just do your best to stick to what you believe to be the right thing. Stand up for the right thing. But it isn't that you got it right and picked the right thing. It's your perception of it. But at least you did what you thought was the right thing. And that's better than nothing. So not doing anything enables hurtful behavior. But it's okay for you to say, no, not today. Fighting the good fight doesn't mean that you were on the winning side if you did what you believed was the right thing. In any war, in any conflict, even, couples, the conflict, the arguing, this world has plenty of it. It just doesn't want people to be at peace because the world is created from the evil, meaning our ego, that wants to be contentious and in conflict. So imagine that there's not duality. One, as soon as we went into the illusion, all that was once one started becoming two. And in the laws of geometry and sacred geometry and numbers and so on, when one became two, those two shoot in opposite directions because by nature there's two. If they're not one, they're not going to be reconciled. It's always going to be going in opposite directions because by nature it's two things, so they need to be going opposite directions. So you walk down the aisle. Do you promise to love and respect and until death do you part? Yes. It can't go well. This can't go well. You promise to do what? To perpetually separate from you. That's what I'm promising, How can it go well? You reconcile an argument. It's still the world of duality. You might think it goes better. You might have treaties in war and battle, but it's still human egos that really don't want to reconcile. All you did was pay them off to not give you problems. You follow what I'm saying there? You make agreements. You go as a couple to a couples counselor and they say, look, you need to, promise not to do that. And okay, we promise. You can't because you're still doing this you might slow it down and go, God, I hate you less. But you're still in a duality with another person. And I don't care how much you think you love your children. They are another. So you go away from them. And there's no solution on earth. The only solution in sacred geometry and numbers and energy and vibration is to introduce the third point, which is God. I don't care how much you and I wish we could get along. Without God pulling us together, it can't happen. Of myself, I am nothing. No matter how much I'm trying, but I'm reading books and I'm going to seminars. I understand, good intention. And I'm doing the right thing. How do we know it's the right thing? Because it's over here and it says right on the chart. And this says wrong. So you're doing man's version of right. So I think that's better than wrong. But there is something else, God, in all things. If I'm arguing with you right now about something, whatever that happens, religion, politics, health, whatever it is, we're arguing. All I have to do is, even while I'm still sitting there looking at you, you don't even know what I'm doing. I can just say, God, help me to see this differently. Bing! And you struck this note that automatically, whether you believe it or not, starts drawing two souls together. And I might see it as evidenced. I might only feel it, but it has to have happened. It's impossible for God to not respond to a prayer from its children that it loves. So when you say, help me, this starts to happen. It's beautiful. And even when you pray for another person, I don't want to pray for you. Why would I pray for you? I don't like you. That's over here. But I'm not like that. I'm a good person. You're mean here, and I'm over here. I'm a nice person. But you're not home. You might just act nicer on the duality level. But even my good intentions, you know what? You're kind of a jerk, but I'm going to go over here and pray for you. Dear Lord, please help this jerk. Do you notice you went no higher? Did you see my hands go higher? Nope. I'm still on the plane of duality. Now, as soon as I pray for God to fix that jerk, I now subconsciously feel shame for believing that that person's less than me, and now I have more of them manifesting. They're like little children, jerks, coming from my judgment on this jerk. Now I have little fractals happening, and look, we're like the Mandelbrot set in intense geometry. Like, look, they just breed themselves. More and more problems. What you have to say is, yeah, you know what? They seem, you can say that. They just push my butt. You can say all those things from your gut because you're insane. You're allowed to say insane things. Then comes good intention, but I'm open to seeing them differently. The ultimate is to say, wait, what if everything, here's the tip of the pyramid, here's the base. Halfway through, there's a dashed line between reality and illusion. So what if I say, if all of this truly is an illusion, then that means my brother and sister are here with me. So I'm not just saying, help me to see it differently just here. I'm asking to see it as God sees it. I insist on seeing your holiness. It's amazing to be able to not just verbally affirm, but to know it's impossible for that other person, despite their behaviors, to not reside in holiness on some level or dimension. And I am committed to seeing that with you. It's beautiful. And sometimes they go from, how are you? And you see it evidenced in their behavior. Other times they might still contentious, but you start to shift. And that's the most important piece, is that you feel. And that feeling becomes what's like an immunity to what was happening. You don't use it against them, of course, but you feel differently. When they feel your shift, there's one of two things they generally do. One, oh my God, like tuning forks. Bing. You bring another one near it, it starts to vibrate to the same tone, frequency. Great. Sometimes that works, but not always. Some people are like, God, I'm getting this wave of love. How dare you? And they get mad. How dare you seem happy? We were just arguing. I want to hook you. Yeah, I just don't feel hookable. I've become Teflon instead of Velcro. There's nothing you're going to say that's going to stick. Not that you say that to them, because that's clearly going to irritate them. But how beautiful it is to just, and one of you asking about relationships. I'm saying that this is, this is part of the whole thing. Like, even in relationships, there's you and me. How can we do well if we're polarized? Well, we're not polarized. Yes, you are, even if you don't realize it. Something's going to show up at some point in the relationship that feels like we're not connecting, verbally, financially, whatever. No matter how good you think your partnership is, let me just say, how could it not be better if you bring God in? Well, how, God? You mean constantly praying together? Well, maybe, but it's in here. By constantly giving thanks for that soul being in your life. Remember, there's gifting relationships and karmic relationships. Karmic generally are seen by how automatically they're contentious. They push buttons. The people that you just don't get along, you don't like, or whatever. Those are karmic relationships. Those are not invalid. Those are not, they don't exist and you should pretend they're not there. And you can't run from all of them. The karmic ones are waiting to be blessed so they can become holy ones. Gifting relationships. But never has any human being just accidentally had a gifting relationship. See, that would be superstition. Oh, look, God gave me a gifting. It's about time. I've been working at myself, on myself for 20 years, and finally I get a gifting. That is not how it works. You don't just get one. It's not like the stork dropped it off at the wrong house. And you can't have my gifting ones, and I can't have yours. The only way any human being can have a gifting relationship is a healed karmic one. You earn it. But I don't want to use that word too much because it makes it sound like you deserve ability level. It's not. The work you've done on the karmic ones starts producing miracles. Say thanks for those. Don't just like brush it off kind of thing, like, well, it's great that somebody's finally nice to me. Wait a minute. This is from the work I've done. If you own that it's from the work you've done, something great can happen, because when you own that, you realize, I want more of this. And then you'll have more of the strength to work on those karmic ones because you saw the fruits of what you've done. Is that making sense? So, and even one of you asking, like, harmony, that's all. That's what this is about. What seems to be conflicting. As soon as you name something, I really don't like when it's hot. That's duality. What's wrong? Well, because it's hot. Yeah, but why do you not like heat? Nobody likes heat, you might say. Nobody in their right mind would say, oh, it's 140. This feels wonderful. Of course, you think you're all justified. But as I've said many times, there's no angels that are going, wow, we were just about to go to Florida to work some miracles, but it's too hot. Adelaide, Australia, oh, it's really the warm season. Angels, we're going to go, so it's time to go to the Pacific Northwest, nice and green. Why are they not touched by the heat? Why are they not turned off? You know why? Because you have issues. Your issues make you not like that kind of person. It isn't whether they're Republican or Democrat. You have issues, and they remind you of those issues, so they bother you. Or that men or women or whatever the topic. There's nothing that you can be triggered by, dislike, that isn't showing you something in yourself. But also there's nothing you can love that isn't showing you something about yourself. It all comes back to us, because the world is a hologram showing us how we are and feeling, beliefs, and so forth in our heart and soul. We talked about that for years and years, but a little bit last week too. So you come to this world and you think your problem is a cold, or you think the problem is it's too hot, or it seems that way. But when you name it, you've already said, I'm here and it's over there. Heat is bothering me. Good weather is something I wish I had, but I don't. More money is something I wish I had. Then you're polarizing it from you. You're pushing it away. And when you push it away, you're creating a tension between the two that something needs healed. So now my issue with, but I have a reason to be triggered by men. I understand. Other lifetimes, this life, someone did this and this and this. I understand the justifications. But are you ready yet to say no to it? Are you ready to say, there's this tension between me and I got karma with males. What are you going to do about it? Well, if they would change, I could be happy. Okay, try that. Try that. Have a journal and tell me, how close you're becoming to all males on the planet being healed, because you're wishing they were healed. What has to happen is I heal my triggers around them and all the tension disappears. And theoretically, instead of pushing away like this and creating a karmic tension, a peace starts to happen. Those who I thought were enemies start to become brothers and sisters. And that's the beginning. It's not home yet. What's going to most have an effect is when I don't even have to do the work. I got to keep working. Only 7,999,090, to go to get all men, my perception of men healed. No. Instead, it's going to be my consciousness starts to heal and all of them go with it. So I'm creating gifting relationships because I no longer see skin color. I no longer see gender. I do, but I don't. I know the truth, but I respect the illusion. So you play along. It's still okay. And you pay your bills and you do things, but your whole perception of it all is changing. So there's that pyramid. My goal is not just to go from challenging life to a better life, which A Course in Miracles calls a happy dream. Still the dream because it's below the dashed line. It is good. It is right to do that. But I go from this consciousness, negative, to positive consciousness. And there are teachers out there that are telling you and they're cheering you on. Let's go for right living, good living, happy living, prosperous. And they're telling you law of attraction or whatever else. They're telling you how to go from this to this. But they don't tell you how to get there. And that's the point you want to go to. More God here and now. If I do the law of attraction, if I do healing relationships, and if I do communication workshops, I think it's great because I'm going from negative consciousness to positive consciousness. But that doesn't mean I'm home. And why do the teachers only tell you about that? Why so many of them don't use the word God? Because they actually don't know about this third point. The most their minds can conjure up is, well, my life's better than it was. I manifested a new car. Wow, this stuff does work. Up in here in God, it's like, what do you mean? What's a car for? For me to drive around in. With what? My body. You don't have a body. Now I feel bad that I even manifested a car. And God's going to say, no, it's okay. I was just messing with you. Inside, there's a craving to know God, and people are willing to let it be placated with just this settling, with this better. I'm not saying better is bad. No, I'd rather go from this to this, for sure. And you will, all of us will go from here to here, not from here to here. If you're watching this if you're listening to this on video, that won't make sense. But, here, there, everywhere. But from one point of the base of a triangle to another, you're not home. So what I would do is, okay, well then I'll go there and then one day I'll go to the top. I would actually ask the top to help me get from here to here. I would bring God into everything I'm doing anyway. You're not waiting for the day you'll get home, but it will feel like that at times. Better life, better communication, better patience, better understanding, more often forgiveness, greater prosperity. Our lives should be improving. Where it isn't, forgive yourself. Don't look for it as an obsessive person going, if it weren't for that one area that's not quite right. You don't think your ego is aware of that? Of course it's going to go, yeah, you're doing great on all these things, but I got a piece, I'm not even going to tell you what it is. So that way you'll just search and be upset, you see? Even if you figured out what it is, you won't know how to fix it because the ego just wants to mess with us like that. But that's the ego. Our job is not to fight the ego. Don't resist not evil. See it for its worthlessness. You have no value here. You have no real power here. So if I'm working with somebody in a relationship, when we're contentious with communication, we're partners or whatever, or your children, and there's contentiousness, you would like it to all be fixed right away. A human being is going to get sucked into the frustration and the anger of the moment. An evolving being is going to say, despite this, I'm praying that things go better. Does that make sense? A holy person says, and I don't care what it looks like, once I surrender to God, all that stuff to God, it's done. Now my job is to live as though. And they're still, You don't get caught in it, nor do you, oh, God, you might not have heard me. They're really a problem, and you're still trying to work on it. That's better than nothing. But it's still you trying to fix the world that we created. Instead, shift to the third option. God, I was caught in that. Help me to forgive myself. God, I perceive some issues, and I think I know what we need to fix this, but I know nothing. Show me how to see this through your mind. And it's amazing, because God doesn't go and fix everything like you might think. God sends this wave of energy, which really isn't being sent that wasn't there already, but now you're feeling it because you surrendered to that consciousness that is God. So this wave comes into us, and it's really trippy because my external circumstances might not change, but you don't care. It's like the best version of being stoned. Like when you're stoned enough and a cop pulls you over and says, I'm going to write you up. Okay. Yeah, but this ticket's going to cost $3,000. Okay. Sounds good to me. You're because you're blissfully present. It's not distractingly stoned. It's like, okay. And it's really weird because things that used to upset me don't upset me as much. That's when you know it's shifting. It's not when you don't have problems. It's the way you used to react to it changes. That's the best measurement of your spirituality. If you think it's about stuff not happening, oh, that's just perfect. Because the ego goes, oh, you're one of those. You think this stuff is, so all I have to do is show you something and I'll trigger you. Instead, yikes, oops, slip, come back, bounce back. A better life, forgiveness, healing. And that's made easier by calling in the presence of God. I call it, in many times I've referred to it as living the Christ life. Again, that implies some sort of walk in holiness, like you only speak softly and you only need, eat certain foods, and it isn't. Although that might be part of your journey to go from eating and drinking everything to no MSGs, please, and I would like it to be clean and pure and, whatever, range-free biscuits, whatever, happy biscuits, made from only range-free wheat or whatever. You're going to go through that, and sometimes you'll be extreme, but that's making a religion out of it. But sometimes, that's a natural thing. To go from not caring, not knowing, and hurtful stuff and toxic stuff to clean. That's cool. There's a point on the third point at the top of the pyramid, there's a point where you get to, and it doesn't matter. I'm holy. So if I sit down to eat and you start cutting into a bloody steak, I don't start to feel queasy and squeamish, and it doesn't matter. I love that you love what you're eating. Now some people are going to go, no, that's wrong. They're not supposed to be eating. That's your religion. And if I want to be converted to your religion, I'll let you know. But people won't understand. There's a different concept, a different consciousness in the person sitting up here at the top of the pyramid looking upon. See, you're being as God, right? You're being as God. There's this consciousness towards God, praying to God. There's this faith in God, but there's something called faith as God. Faith, despite you eating that steak, I have faith that God will keep me safe from the toxic energy coming off of that screaming cow that's on our table, that's been brutalized, and all that to faith as God. If God is with me, what could be against me? Everything's okay. No, but they're eating steak. You know why they're eating steak? Because you need to forgive them for eating steak. They need forgiven. Yes, they do, because what they're doing is wrong. No, they need forgiven. Just let that happen. Okay, fine. I forgive you for eating steak. That's not the highest level of forgiveness, is it? The highest point, when you don't forgive, get God to help you forgive things. When you forgive as God, you see things differently. You're not seeing things that need forgiven and fixed. There's just this wave of blessing. Despite whatever you do, I love you. That's it. There's this wave of love. Now, please don't think that I'm saying you need to do that or you're failing. You're not going to maintain that 24/7 the rest of your life. Everything just peaceful, blissful. You'll see an animal get struck by a car and you will not, everything's fine. Things are going to hit you. They do. See it, recognize that's no accident that this is before you. Breathe that in, and what does this really need? God's presence. Bless both political parties. Don't give thanks that yours wins. Bless both. Bless both insane people. Candidates. But seriously, bless them all. Bless the meat eaters and the vegans. Bless them all. And when you hear no, but don't you get it? This is wrong. I understand. Down here, duality. Here's what's right, here's what's wrong. And you have people arguing it and going to war over it. But we know we're right. Okay. My job is to get to this place. How can I see them all as holy children of God? Now, understand, they are holy children. You might not think they're. And you might think that if you just tell them one more thing, they're going to become holy. But if they would just listen to me, if only my partner would listen, we would then have it right. That's the world of duality again. Wishful thinking, I wish this, but instead, how can I see them already as holy? And it's funny because you have the right to insist on this. There's that person, they push your buttons, but you have the right to say, no, I actually insist. I totally believe there is a holiness in them. And I want to see them and myself standing in the vibe of heaven. And any ifs, ands, or buts, just get behind me, Satan. Right here. And you're allowed to do this. This is actually our destiny, to be holy again. But the truth is, we never lost our holiness, but we feel like we did. So we created a world that mirrors being conflicted and apart. How are we going to get home but through reversing that? I need to see everyone and everything as holy. You see a rotting tree, termites all over it and whatever. And I see that. That's what I believe I see. How can I see this through your eyes? God. And then, that's the mother being manifested in these ways. The mother's going, this is how the mother speaks to us. Good morning. We're going to have a day today. I'm here for you. If you just want my opinion, here's what I would love to see you do. I would love for you to see my glorious wholeness every second and of every minute today. But that's just me. This is what she says to you every day. And then when you say, I wanted that, but when I walked outside, I saw an animal on the side of the road that was dead, probably from speeding cars. You know how people are. Probably a man, because you know how men drive. Oh, probably from out of state, because all the people from that state, is that. And you know what? It's not like you lose God. You know what happens? The mother says, and so it is. So she manifests as a dead animal on the side of the road. She'll manifest as a contentious person. She'll manifest even as your more reasons to not like men or women or whatever it is. She will actually become an image of it. Why? Because she's mirroring to you where you might heal so that you can free her and she can say, free at last. Now can you see my glory? And we're like, and I saw angels and a miracle happen. And she's like, no, this is there all the time. You just can't see it when you have opinions in the way. Free me. Free me. It's amazing. Just a quick example. There's this cheap TV show that was made. I think like 3 people watched it. Me and 2 of my kids, I think. But cheap TV show, some of you will remember, from the 70s called The Martian Chronicles. And it was a mini-series of sorts. But it was interesting, the whole gist of it, which all kinds of parallels and metaphors. But we're starting to colonize Mars. And there were once Martians, but they're all gone now. Well, what really happened was when we encountered Martians, we thought they were evil, we were killing them. And so we killed them all. They're gone, but they're not. They actually say in the show, we didn't die. All of us didn't die. We shifted dimensions so you couldn't see us. Right? But we will manifest. But there's one thing they couldn't control. They would manifest as whatever you perceived. So this one man finds his son. Oh my God, I thought you were dead. Don't ever. And it's a Martian that's becoming his son uncontrollably, and so on. Well, then there's this scene where this guy is running because the humans are trying to kill him. He's a Martian, and he's switching into different bodies, and they're trying to track him down and kill him. He's running, and he goes into a chapel. And there's a priest, devout priest, up at the baptismal and the altar, and he's praying, and he hears this drip, drip. Is someone here? And he's always wanted to see Jesus. Listen to this. This is cool. Only I could make good out of a cheap show. So he's hearing this dripping sound, and what's here? And he goes looking, and all of a sudden they show you in the back of the room, there's the baptismal bowl, and you see blood drops dropping into the water. And he walks over, and he sees somebody standing over it, and he's dripping blood. And he's going, my Jesus, I've always wanted. And he goes, no, it's not Jesus. You have to get me out of this body. The vibrations are too high, and it's killing me. Isn't that amazing? So we're seeing, there's a Jewish saying, we don't see things as they are, we see things as we are. You're seeing through lenses of your belief systems. And the priest is like, no, don't leave me. He's going, but I'm not him. Don't leave me. You're Jesus. No, I'm not. And that priest had to forego the thing he most wanted to see and project onto someone. In this case, it's transference. A positive is transference. A negative is projection. So he had to, his greatest wish, he closed his eyes, he turned away, and he looked, and he's gone. You see? So people become, and the mother, she manifests to mirror to us our thoughts and beliefs. Whether it's in the form of a harmonious, peaceful life or contentious life or moment. And you might say, but I was in a great mood today. You can't tell me I'm not saying that you literally manifest it 1 second per second, apples and apples. You could have a belief system from 18 lifetimes ago leak into today and manifest as this odd occurrence. Someone for no reason, rages on you. And, that stuff's just a drag, the way we are. But it can't change by forcing people to behave differently as much as changing our beliefs, our consciousness. In other words, when that person does misbehave, forgiveness. When I extend proper forgiveness, my consciousness goes from swinging to good days and bad days to this point up here. This doesn't swing. That's weird. God's not a swinger, but, okay? Don't credit me for that. This doesn't move. It is unmovable. No matter what amount of rage, torrential rain, nothing moves the centeredness of God. It can't. How could it? There isn't anything but God. But we manufactured something else. So do you think the made-up world has power over the real? Well, no, of course not. It's made up. So that's what we mean by reality and illusion. But in the world of duality, here's what we have. Not reality and illusion, because reality is not part of this world. So you have reality and illusion, but you have happy dreams and unhappy dreams in the illusion. So even the illusion is polarized. You don't have good versus bad, good days, bad days, good people, bad. No, God, good and bad. Our perception of things. So don't assume that when you have a good day, that's as good as it gets. That's nothing compared to the peace of God. I want to be happier. Good for you. Good, good. But joy is something of God. I want to be calmer. Good for you. Calmness is not the total peace of God. There's so much more waiting for everyone. But it does take responsibility and us shifting consciousness. And not everybody wants to hear that or can hear that. Because I'm living in this dualistic, tell it to me down here. Don't tell me about this thing up here, this God thing. It's too abstract. That's how some people think. Tell me how I can just improve my diet. Tell me how I can improve something. I want something to go my way. You see, that's what we're really doing. We're infiltrating the ego and even into what we perceive as good or God. And it's really just my opinion. My perception is this would be better. This diet is better. But it's still the world of perception, not the knowingness of God. You know, and that can really do a number on some people's minds, you know. These 3 points. Here you have an issue, and here you have forgiveness of the issue. And we think that means that these 2 points go like this. Now watch. The issue, forgiveness is God. No. Down here in this world, there's the issue and there's forgiveness of the issue. Up here, the issue doesn't exist. You see what I just did there? We try to switch it as though that's the God piece, and that's not. You know, we try to switch the God piece down to here, and that's not the God piece. Issue, forgiveness, beyond. Okay? And you take that into illness of the body. Oh, forgiveness created a miracle. Well, you know, this is faith not in God to fix the illusion. This is faith as God. I am in the knowingness. How do I know that? Generally, from how you feel. When you feel a peace that surpasses understanding, it's likely you didn't just go here. And don't get me wrong, the right world, the good, healthy, better world is good. I'm just saying it isn't God yet. It's a reflection of God. This side of the pyramid point reflects God very nicely. This side is veiled even more into darkness, this side where we think we have problems. So that very much it's true, very much that we go, there's these trinities, these threes that keep recurring in much of what we teach. I don't care what you teach. If you teach dog whispering, you could still find, if you look, certain 3 steps to dog whispering. And it might break down into 12 other things and 5 other things, but 3. 3, you know, I use these 3s because they're everywhere. 3 chakras in the upper, 3 chakras in the lower, and 3 sets counting this set, and this one. 3s, they're everywhere. The Trinity of God repeats itself everywhere, and it behooves us to see that. It happens in your 3 parts of a lymphatic system, 3 uses of blood, 3 parts of bones. I mean, there's a lot of those. And of course, you can break them further, but it's these 3 things keep showing up. So use that as a way to understand the world a little more easily. To understand, well, wait, if I'm trying to get home and there's 3, so there's the brokenness, there's the healing, and there's the healed. You see? Use a consistent pattern when you're trying to understand something. So what if I go a 12-step program? Well, what Michael says 3. I've said this before. The 12 steps basically distill down to 3. They're made into 12 for your greater understanding. But if you're wise, see the 3. Because I can say there's 12 steps, which is different than something else that's 3, something else is 18, and the 4 agreements, and the 15 thises, and that's the others. But when you're wise, you go from seeing the difference in things to the connectedness of things. So you go like this instead of there's 12 step and then the Buddhist, oh my God, the sutras and the tantras, and there's 8 trillion of these and 5,000 of those. Oh, and then there's the Vedas and all chapters and Course in Miracles, 365 workbook lessons. None of these numbers match. Yes, they do. Calm down and go somewhere else to get the answer. And you go, so many is negative vibe, world. And you start to say, okay, but I'm willing to see it differently. And all of a sudden, what does it really look like? Whether you rise into God or whether God shines its light down into your mind and you start to go, oh my God. 3, once again. What does the 3 have to do with Buddhism? The 12 step, they're all different. No, they're not. Course in Miracles, Buddhism, 12-step programs, anything else distills, and listen to the wording if you're familiar with any of those programs. More God, change you, and bring the change to others. Tell me that's not in the 12 steps. You got it? If you're into Buddhism, tell me that's not true. Do you not understand that that's what Buddha taught? More connectedness, changing yourself and bringing the change to others. Are you into Christianity? How can you not hear that in the teachings of Jesus? These 3. A Course in Miracles, same thing. So get away from, I'm so overwhelmed, there's so much to learn. Well, there's a lot you could learn if you want it, but go after those 3. Get more connected to God, let that change you, and then bring that change to others. It's perfect. All your relationships. Oh, there's so many kinds of people, and I don't know what I'm going to do with relationships. I'm gay, or I'm straight, I'm polyamorous, you have all these names. No, you don't have, well, but maybe I'm bi, maybe I'm this, maybe I'm confused, maybe I'm curious. That you could be sure, But there's an answer. Calm down. Calm down. Listen, there's only 3 relationships you can have. Is it gay, straight? No. One is with God, one is with yourself, and one is with others. Now, whether I don't care. Man, woman, or monkey that you're into. Listen to me. God is what matters most, and you. The third is almost not relevant at all. Oh, yeah, it's the most important. That's because human beings have flipped creation upside down and made others more important than God and themselves. So I go looking for, watch this, God in others. I go looking for self in others. Codependent. And others doesn't just mean people. Drink, drugs. It's anything that is other than you. So all of my others have been made a priority because I know they're going to give me what I want. They can't. First of all, they don't exist. They're holograms. You got a holographic 6-pack in your fridge that you think is going to bring you a great Sunday. And it doesn't, as long as your team wins. There are others too. As long as your candidate wins, it's just another. They cannot help you. And the more you invest in them, the more you will fall. Because false idols are not just the ones you thought were great and weren't. All others are false idols. Why are they called false idols? That's like me going, you're all false idols bad. No. Because I have opinions of what you are, that's false. I don't know what you are until I go to the top of the pyramid and say, God, show me who they really are. And then this wave happens. These people that sit and, I desire to know the real you. And you do meditations, eye-gazing, love-making, mutual drinking, and you think you're blending in, let's just ayahuasca together or whatever. And you think you're joining. You can't because you're still there. You're still thinking. If you do the proper, Rumi-like eye-gazing, you're looking and you're going, oh my God, it only took me a few seconds. It's working. I'm looking in your eyes and I'm starting to feel tingles. That's not it yet. Okay, longer. Now I get it. You're starting to turn to light. You're nowhere close. Just keep going. I see your past lives. Wait, you're me. Oh my God. And you just, oh my God. And that's just layers and layers. And then there's the me that thinks that I know what I'm seeing. Still, layers and layers and layers. It's not until you reach, what was I thinking? Your past life, your nose changed, and your mother's, and all of that's still thinking. All of that falls away, and you get to this peace that surpasses understanding. You know why? Because you and another person just went to the top of the pyramid, where you said, I have no opinions. I have no idea who you are. Show me. And you become one in Christ consciousness. Where 2 or more are gathered, that's what that meant. Where 2 or more. Now, you don't have to drag another person. I'm having a terrible day because nobody will meditate with me and do eye-gazing into Christness. Go to a bus stop. Listen, hold still for a second. I'm tapping out. Police, Wow, these freaky global for center Christ consciousness people. They always go around town holding people's heads, eye gazing, trying to become one. That is not what we're. You don't have to force someone else. Listen, all I have to do is will it between anyone else. I just desire to see your good. I don't have to get you to commit like some people think you have to have like a contract with them. No, I don't, because you are me. Why would I need a contract from something that isn't another? It's me. That very thought, that very intention already brings us home. So you can forgive and wish that God will teach you to forgive, but learn to forgive as God. You know, bring it all into, I have faith in God. Just remember this extra. How about faith as God? How about forgiving as though you are God? I'm not talking about some grandiosity or ego. I'm talking about stop thinking of it as something that takes effort. Because God doesn't go, oh man, this is going to be a tough one. Okay, someone's at the gates of heaven that's really a challenge. And then God's the one that says, I'm sorry, man, I tried, but I couldn't, lever, boom, and then off to hell you go. Or, that's not how this works. There isn't a possibility of a thought to the contrary. I don't care what you've done or where you've been. It is impossible for God to perceive you as anything other than itself, God. Now, God's prayer would be, and I wish and pray and affirm the day that you accept this and come home. Not when you improve after so many lifetimes. It's not when you laud and flaunt this like energy or you've meditated enough times. It's none of that. It's actually through how much we're willing to surrender. Surrender includes judgments, which is called forgiveness. But really, it's how much are you willing to surrender? God, I would love to know you. Okay, how much would you love to let go of things that are not me? We say we want God, but at that moment when God says, well, here's a few things that are in your consciousness that are not like me, so I would need you to let those go. And A Course in Miracles is going to say, it's part of our curriculum to teach you that you do value some other things besides God. No, I would never. Anyway, there are some things that you value besides God. Well, like what? I mean, my car? Those are the obvious things. You know that one person who did such and such to you? Yeah, but you've never really come to heal that. In fact, you've never even talked to a counselor about it. Well, I don't know because it's horrendous. You're not willing, your lack of willingness to bring it to the light means you're holding it as a secret, and it becomes an anchor that keeps you from rising into God, which means you are choosing to keep that. Well, it's not my fault. You're choosing to keep it. And so that's where that beautiful humility, when you go through the dark night of the soul, you tend to go, oh, fine. You're going through so much purging, you just realize, I'm not going to value anything, which is good. It doesn't mean don't like things, but we have to learn to recognize when we're holding a grievance, it's like an addiction. We think it serves a purpose that it isn't serving. Well, I can't forgive them because they might then feel that it's allowed that they're, condoning their behavior. No, you're not. You're just forgiving them. You're saying, I'm done with the effects it has on me. Let that go. Let it be. Well, what if God doesn't do anything about it? I got to be there to take care of things. That's the arrogance of the ego. So learning to say, no, I can see the steps, and I'm certainly, if not always capable of maintaining the consciousness of God at the top of the pyramid, I'm certainly committed to moving from here to here. And if you're watching a program like this, the likelihood is there that you are already committed to going to the happy dream, a better life, a healthier life, prosperity, and so on. That's the good news. But hearing this talk and doing anything else you do, meditation, et cetera, improving your diet, it's going to keep, increasing the quantity of your consciousness going from here to here. So all that you're doing for yourself is paying off. If it isn't, it has to be if it's a betterment. But if for some reason you feel it's not doing as much as you'd like, find something that speeds it up or is more thorough or more effective in some way. How do I know which things are most effective? It's not the ones that add information to your head. It's the ability to feel peace. You know, and so some people, well, that's nice, but, you know, there's no but to it. Feel peace. You go to the gas station, they're out of fuel, and somehow you adapted better than you used to. Someone cut you off on the road, you adapted. I'm not saying enable and justify all the hurtful things on the planet, but just, God, I don't know how to see this, show me. And some people are going to say, no, I do know how to see it. No, see, that's not God talking. Anything that's going to be about perception, you're wrong. Okay? Any opinion you have about anything in the history of the planet, every time I have ever had a thought or an opinion, I was wrong. That's a lot of wrong. If you had 1,000 lifetimes and you only had 10 opinions in each of those lifetimes, that's many thousands of being wrong. But it isn't that number. It's times 1 trillion. And, you know, that sounds disempowering. This guy teaches that I'm wrong in my opinions. Absolutely. And if you don't like that, you need to go somewhere where somebody will go to the Church of Enabled Egos. There's probably one out there somewhere. The Church of Enabled Egos. Welcome, come on in. You know, I don't like her either. Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, that dress doesn't go with her. Really? She's spring and she's wearing winter colors. You know, let's sit around and just talk about how much we hate everybody. That would be, go find them. But that's just, it's not here, and it's not what God would will for you. Please take a few centering breaths. Teach only love, for that is what you are. Everything you think, say, and do is demonstrating to the people around you what you believe. So when you handle things from a higher place, you're teaching people that they have value. React to them, and you're teaching them what they already suspect, that they're wicked people. React to people, and you're affirming that their behavior is who they are. It doesn't mean stuff your reaction. It means shift to the top of the triangle. I want to see this as God sees this. Picture yourself standing and your body taking the shape of the Egyptian Ankh. It means you're standing and your arms outstretched and you look like a cross. But the part where your head would be is a circle instead of a straight piece, vertical piece. So stand, just imagine yourself standing, the Ankh, the sacred Ankh. The Egyptian cross. The arms that are outstretched represent the horizontal line between reality up above, illusion down below. The part below the arms that extends down towards the ground is us penetrating illusion, coming down and living in this world. And all the stuff that happens to the left, to the right, forward and backward, this is the stuff that surrounds us in our day-to-day life. And that lower part of the Anchor Cross is in this world, struggling, trying to deal with this. But that lower part has a few doors, 4 to be exact, from the lowest part and another, and those are like your lower chakras. But they're doors, they're elevators. Whenever you're dealing with stuff of this world, you can get in the elevator and let it take you up above the illusionary line and into God. Why? because God's good and the rest is evil. No, no. Go up and like an oasis, go in and soak in a bit of God and then bring it down into your life to change the world. And above the horizontal line is that circle, the loop, the top of the Ankh. And that's the part of me that even when I'm connected to God, I still find myself, the loop takes me around and down into this world. That loop doesn't allow me to stay in heaven. I don't like that, but that's only because that's it for now. It loops me around and brings me down into the earth plane. So the Ankh has that one little caveat, that one little strange bit to it. It still sends me back and doesn't allow me to maintain or remain in God. So what can I do? The loop of the Ankh and the rest, the horizontal and the vertical piece, that's you standing there. Now just watch and allow the whole cross, you, to become crystalline and turn to light. Still a cross, but crystalline, higher dimensional. Take the cross that you are, this beautiful crystalline light cross, and just sit down in your mind and let the extended parts just become one orb of light. Nothing to think about. No vertical, no horizontal, no higher, no loop, no crucifix. It all merges into an orb of light. Here I have nothing to think about or analyze. Nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. And stay in that frequency for a moment. I need do nothing. Quietly let that fade away. Let that just fade calmly. Without a lot of movement, not a lot of thinking. Gently stand up. Look around the room and notice skin color, hair color, body types, genders. Just gently look around. Then place your hands on your heart and close your eyes and say to all the people you just looked at, oops, I just saw you as a person, but I am committed to seeing who you really are. I am committed to joining you in a holy relationship. Just hold that thought and just quiet, your eyes closed, imagine all these orbs of light. And don't just imagine orbs of light, imagine how it feels to be in the presence of that light. That's their Christ self. You would bow if you saw Jesus, but can you, in your mind, honor each other just that much? And any time that I fail to see this light in you, I am falling to temptation to see you as something other than what you are. Lead me not into temptation, you say to your mind quietly. Just know that. It's an affirmation. Lead me not. And I refuse to be tempted to see them as anything else. And if I slip, I will bounce back, because I am committed to seeing the holiness in all your children, Father, Mother, God. I know you've forgiven me, but help me to forgive myself for every time in history, present, and future where I slip and fail to see their holiness. And so it is. In a moment, we'll do our closing prayer, but just breathe that in and let that soak in a little bit. It would be interesting if children were taught these principles in school. It would be interesting if parents had to actually become mentally healthy before they were allowed to have children. You know, wouldn't that be cool? Yes. Like healthiness, just spiritual awareness and psychological healthiness, you know, gosh. Can anyone share what they learned or heard or experienced, the talk or the meditation that was helpful from today's experience?
One verse.
The universe is one verse, one song of God, not the one you see. Behind it is the presence of God. The one you see is the one we manufacture and put over the image of God. My opinions, which are shrouding the reality of God. Anyone else? Yes?
The sacred geometry of the triangle is going to help.
The sacred geometry of the triangle is going to help a lot. He said, good. And it really does. And to realize, you know, like, wow, this sacred three, what it means. It can mean so many things, and it keeps showing up everywhere. When I think I'm on the spiritual path and I doubt it, am I doing unhealthy? Well, then it makes sense that I'm over here. But if I'm living healthy, and meaning mind, body, I'm working on myself, it's impossible for you not to have made it over here. Give yourself some credit. But if for some reason, when I have to make decisions, it's very simple. We think we have all these decisions. Just try your best to go with what seems like the healthiest decision. Mentally, psychologically, spiritually, sexually, financially, etc. What resonates with healthiness? Then you're probably making the best decision in this world. I would still pray for guidance on that. You see, but I'm moving. Instead of getting caught up in the dualities. I just need to make the right decision. And they're telling me this, and someone else is telling me that. I don't know what to do. You've put yourself in conflict. What feels like it most resonates with healthiness? And sometimes that's goodbye to some people. Yes?
The example you gave about the cheap TV show, but
Oh.
just that the symbolism behind that of closing our eyes to our perceptions and misperceptions and allowing us to see the truth.
Yeah, she really, really liked the cheap TV show metaphor, the analogy, Martian Chronicles. Yes?
We personify a lot of different things, and I'm paraphrasing what you said. But going from that line of like good, healthy exercise and morals,
Yeah.
it's also a personification
Yeah.
of what it is that has trickled down that effect for
Right.
all of us, even
Yeah.
with the values.
So the healthier world is, in a sense, halfway home.
Yeah.
It's also the place where the light of God can shine more directly than over here, where we're in the negative consciousness or behaviors. Yes? Faith as God. Do you have faith in God? Yeah, but I also have faith as God. I don't just ask God to help me forgive. I forgive as God. We're learning, hold that as my consciousness. But again, not in an arrogant way that some people use this I am God boast. That's different. That's generally the ego still. I seek to forgive as God. I seek to be as God, because I am, ultimately. But even in this world, don't have it down perfectly. Jesus will say in A Course in Miracles, he makes it clear, you will not have that 24/7 in this world, because the world is a frequency of separation. If you hold light in a world that's got a frequency of separation, your body would burst into light because you're holding too much of real consciousness. So it's hard to hold an illusionary consciousness of a body, which is how Jesus allowed that to happen when he burst into light and left an image on the shroud. His burial cloth, yes.
When you said God can not answer, you help me to see as
Right.
you see. And I was looking at, originally, help me to see others as you see them. And then it was help me to see this situation that we're dealing with as you see it.
Yeah.
And then it was help me to see me the way you see me.
Good. And it becomes like a really great exercise. Help me to see the world. You know, we start with fix the world, please. And then, well, wait. Help me to forgive and heal my relations. And you still name things, but then there's, wait, wow. In God, I have nothing to ask. Now, I myself, personally, Michael, I don't try to meditate in that place all the time. There's a reason why. I don't try to go there all the time. I know that it's helpful for me to still sit here at times and anchor God's light. Even sometimes if I have to go way over here, I don't go, oh, so far from home now. It's, you know what, wherever you are, bring the light. And if I'm in the pit, let me bring light there. Generally, this is where we want to live. What Course it calls right-mindedness. It's spiritual awakening. Because there's a sleep, there's waking, and there's awake. Another 3. And I love living in the awakening. I know that, there's in the bliss of God. But I'm like, that's, I love that. Just sitting at. But it's really strange because I'll tell you this. If suddenly you were able to be in that place, let's pretend half of every day, 1/3 of the day you're sleeping, half of every waking hour is spent in that. I'll tell you, one of the strangest things is you can't relate to this anymore because you're too often up in this. Now it's like, I just realized I haven't had anything to eat or drink in 18 days, this is why mystics and monks in the old days in temples from Africa to Norwegian realm to Australia to Far East, this is why they started developing from the meditation what's called Dao Yin or other forms of acupressure on themselves. It's like, but I'm still here, so I better keep some circulation going. Now, today's, what it's called is, you get up and, oh my God. But back then, they were, it's so mystic, and because they knew it's not just moaning and groaning when you get up, it's keep your body alive. Keep some energy going. So they would do self-acupressure. And then it became sitting poses of Qigong exercises. And then the sitting poses of Qigong started becoming Tai Chi, sitting still, and yoga, sitting. And then they eventually said, might as well stand. So they stood up and started doing what you think is yoga today and Tai Chi today, moving and, all these movements. And it's cool, but it started with, I get so blissed out, I need to anchor it here. I need to bring it into my limbs. What good does it do if I meditate for so long, my muscles atrophied? So I reached enlightenment and then I'm feeling so enlightened, but I can't lift my head, So, poof, show up, yoga, I feel alive, my meridians. Where do you think you got the vision of your meridians? Because God's like, you better get some life force into that system there somewhere. Muscles, tendons, wake up, stretch, bring the life. So all those systems came from us realizing we're here. We have to anchor that presence, which again, the Ankh, up and loop back around. You got to bring it back down. Anybody else, the meditation or the symbolism or anything else? Yes?
God, connect with God.
Yes. God, connection, commune with God. Let that change you and bring the change to others. If you have healthy communion with God regularly, and you have a responsible self, and you have connection with others, you have the essence, the recipe for a fulfilling life. Communion with God, responsible self, which is about healthiness really, and connection with others. Connection, man, care. All three of those. And they have to be in that order in terms of priority. Remember, you flip it, that's what humans do. Everything backwards. Even your eyes are wired backwards, which is a telling thing. Okay, we're going to take up our collection and do our closing prayer. It should only take a few minutes. Thank you for being with us. Please be as generous as you can be. If you're online, there'll be a button you can push that you can make a donation. Remember, if any of you are struck with a situation of greater abundance, good, share it with us. But also, if you're struck with, fear and tension. I remember as a kid going to church and seeing the basket and, feeling self-conscious that I was a teenager, let's say, or even young adult. I know, and no person should have to feel that way and be too self-conscious about it. So put your mind in there, put your consciousness, love. Just thank us and send a blessing to the basket. None of these people that are ushers, they're all chaplains. None of them are going, tightwad. And if they did, they're wrong about you. So you accept our gratitude for who you are, period. Okay? That blessing that you give will become prosperity or whatever else you're looking for. So hold your love offering to your heart. Sincere words in our prosperity blessing. Together, please. Divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive, and so it is. Thank you. A few announcements while they pass those out. First, remember, we have our healing counseling circle this coming Wednesday. That's at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. You can watch it online or you can join us, but it's kind of almost like a therapy group that I conduct, and it varies a lot. We cover a lot of just deeper healing. It's kind of like a spiritual healing mentoring group, but it's fantastic stuff. You can read more about it online. This afternoon, we have our workshop, 12 to 5, Heart of A Course in Miracles. It focuses on the book I wrote called A Heart of A Course in Miracles. And we cover the 12 primary concepts, spiritual concepts, love and forgiveness, reality and illusion, all these concepts at a much deeper level. The Daughters of Heaven conference, we'll be talking about that the next 8 weeks or so, but that's coming up in a couple of months. If you haven't signed up, look into it and or sign up right away. The next few days is the final discount, early bird discount time. So get into that as soon as you can, if possible. There's a website, Daughters of Heaven. You can go and learn more about it. Let's see. In the bookstore, we have all kinds of really cool things, but remember, you're not paying tax because it's a nonprofit here. But also, we sell all the gift items, crystals and things, probably at half or a third or 2/3 or whatever, roughly, of what you'd pay in town elsewhere. And that doesn't mean they don't have great stuff. There's some really beautiful things in each of the stores in town. If you're interested, we have a crystal bed that you can use. It's in the healing room outside here in the yurt. And that's just some incredible healing for it. It is. It's really pretty supernatural, especially if you're visiting. You might want to check it out while you're visiting in town, but even locals, check it out, okay? And I think that's it. The chaplains are available after service if you're interested. They do what we call a prayer circle. So you can sit here and join in prayer to help others, or you can receive in general, or you can write down if you have a specific thing you're looking for healing on. The workshop, 12 to 5, will allow, there's some time so you can go get some munchies, have something to eat and come back and join us. If you miss a few minutes, don't worry, and you can watch online to catch up the part you missed. All right? Please stand for our closing prayer. Soak in gratitude, soak in appreciation for all that you heard, all that you shared. Every single person in the room is contributing something, gifting or karmic. If you look around, you didn't notice a lot of karmic relationship going on. Why is that? You had to have earned being in a room with a lot of really beautiful people. So kudos to you. That's you and your work with God. We also, however, thank all the other people in the room, even the people online. Thank you, thank you, thank you for mirroring to me my goodness. I'd love to see more and more of this in my life. Thank you for showing me what healthy male looks like, healthy female looks like. Thank you for being a new version of my mom who was or wasn't there, my dad who was or wasn't there, my siblings who were or were not great siblings. You're new versions of all that. Thank you all, you're saying to everybody in the room. The light of God surrounds us.
We are the light of God.
The love of God enfolds us.
We are the love of God.
The power of God protects us.
We are the power of God.
And the presence of God watches over us.
We are the presence of God.
Wherever we go, God is, I am, we are, and so it is. Peace be with you all. Thank you.